to just go ahead and introduce you, and thank you so much for being with all of us. And Michelle O is coming on as well, and she's also a Reiki master. I should probably share a little bit more about your background because there's several Reiki people in here, and I feel like we're all going to be vibing off each other.
Nice.
So here we go. Okay, so Cristi lives in Northern California. She's a priestess, a therapist, a Reiki master, teacher, spiritual mentor, artist, and end of life doula. I want to hear more about that. So, your business is The Blooming Soul, and you have creative, integrative approaches to your holistic healing and spiritual needs, which is wonderful. And some of this stuff, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, Cristi. So you do hypnotherapy, also brain spotting. That's how we met. And somatics, mindfulness, and expressive arts. I love all of that. I guess I didn't realize all that. This is wonderful, Cristi. So I love this. So y'all listen to this. Michelle is coming on. Rachel's coming on. Welcome, welcome. This is Cristi Taylor. Hi, Rachel. Rachel's another Reiki. There's a lot of Reiki people in here. And so Christy's in California and she's joining us this evening. And this is beautiful. Cristi helps you heal, reawaken to your true self, and fall deeply in love with yourself. I'm like, sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. As a priestess, Cristi holds a loving space and helps you connect with your primal female powers. Oof, I could feel that. Tap in spiritually and be with community through various spiritual and cultural practices. So this is beautiful because now in your bio, you're sharing more about the modalities you use. So this is great too. And so feel free, people that are here, share the modalities you use, or if any of these really resonate with you. So like the number one is altar. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there. So altar work, ritual, ceremony, earth-based spirituality, art, dance, and nature cycles. I'm excited. Cristi enjoys holding sacred space for other women in women's circles, groups, classes, and in her mentoring services. As a former kindergarten teacher, me too. No wonder we get along so well.
Right?
Midwest kindergarten teacher. Okay, yes. She loves to bring creativity and playfulness into her classes. She enjoys creating beautiful works of art for herself and others, such as her mixed medium paintings, malas, and sacred jewelry, which include themes from the natural world and magical intentions and blessings. Learn to tend your magical garden with Cristi. Oh, and I love all of this, Cristi. This is wonderful. I feel like I just got to know you even more. And this is beautiful. This is so beautiful. And I feel too, I mean, you have such a rich, rich background. It's so beautiful to be able to listen to all of this. And there are several others in here too, like I said, with Reiki, also with the arts and who do ceremony. I love how you pull it all together. I mean, it just feels like you're pulling this all together, which is just beautiful. So I'd love to just check in and ask you some questions, kind of more about your spiritual and healing path, because I'm just curious, like what started you? What started you for this path?
So, I would say, so I grew up in Iowa, so it was not a very diverse, culturally. So when I went to college, I studied anthropology and religious studies, I think as a way to kind of like find God and also like just see what else was out there besides like your typical Caucasian, Christian background. Um, and then I kind of forgot about everything until, and started teaching and that sort of thing. And then I had a dark night of the soul, where like within a couple months, I lost my job, we lost our house, and my marriage ended. So it was, it had been a long time coming, but it all just came at once. So it was super intense, you know. But I'm really grateful because I felt like I had no choice but to go inside and like deal with the grief and start kind of rebuilding, you know.
Yes, 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 yes. And even just listening to you, so I use pendulum. That's one of my modalities. I just wanted to like clear just a little bit more. I'm like, because I almost just get a sense that there's some of these aspects of ourselves that continue to bring us lessons or bring
Mm.
us messages. And so even as you're sharing that, I could just feel it. And I know that there's a lot of empaths and clairsentience in here as well. And just being able to feel this and being able to recognize that it served you. I mean, it did on some level. Like it helped you to pivot, it helped you to move forward. And so would love to just hear from the audience, other people if you want to share about like your, times that you had that dark night of the soul and how you were able to move forward from this. And I guess with that too, if it's okay for me to ask, like how did you move forward from this? Because that feels that's so heavy, that's so much.
It was a lot. I mean, I could barely take care of my kids at that point. But luckily, I found a really good therapist, and they recommended Al-Anon. And so I
Mhm.
went to Al-Anon for a couple years, and then I started working with this therapist who did Reiki. I had no idea what it was at that point, but she was like, I want to do this thing. And I'm like, do the thing.
Nice.
um, and she was studying like Peter Levine's work. And so she took me through breath work. And through the breath work, I had a Kundalini awakening. Now, I don't think she had any idea what that exactly was. She was more, but it sparked this Kundalini awakening, which lasted intensely for about a year.
Mm.
Um, yeah, where I
Wow.
was just
Mhm.
moving things through somatically and then had my chakras open and very like time slowing and that sort of thing, and feeling very connected.
So like that feels very serving. I mean, that awakening and like over the whole year, it just feels that you, just like you said, you're moving things. And did you feel like you were like in alignment? Did that feel like an alignment of some sort to you?
It felt like I was going, like I was trying to get somewhere. I didn't know like where I was going, but it felt like it was going somewhere, if that makes sense. And I
Yes.
had like just like released a lot somatically, and all I wanted to do was grieve. Like I was grieving like the loss of my marriage and old life. So
Yeah.
when my kids would leave, I would want to just grieve and breathe. And then like I had a pretty profound opening of the heart
Mm.
from the backside and opening of the root. The other ones opened too, but those two were like that's the root one was like where it kind of culminated. That's where I was going, it felt like.
Mhm. That makes so much sense too, because I just feel like I mean, you were uprooted, so it was just like the
Mm.
root chakra and foundation and whatnot. It just feels that was what was disrupted. So, I mean, to be able to open that up and to be able to really heal that just feels so encompassing and really supportive that that's one of the kind of a breakthrough and two with the heart as well. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. Like root and heart were both affected, impacted, and healing, through all of that. So, I mean, powerful, powerful, powerful. And then I guess I'm curious too, like with your women's circles, just because I feel like, if there's any correlation with there into like with your Kundalini awakening into leading the women's circles or, just looking at that too. So what is your experience with the women's circles?
So it's really interesting that not long after this Kundalini awakening, I got in an abusive relationship. It was very short, but very, very intense. And then I was in a safe house for like a year.
Mm.
Um, and so that actually ended up being a blessing as well. And just being around, like it had been a while since I'd been around a group of women. Like my mom has three sisters, and then she had her circle of girlfriends. So I was raised around, she wasn't necessarily spiritual or anything, but I was raised around just like the importance of being around women.
Mm.
Uh,
Mhm, mhm.
and then in the safe house, it was, we were all there for, similar reasons. So there would be, it would be more like a therapy, but just being around women. And then we would all cycle together. There'd be these
Mhm.
like very intense moments, but then there'd be these moments of like playing music and dancing and like being in community with women.
Mm.
Um, so
Mhm.
that kind of, uh, you know, I wasn't really aware of it at the time. But from that experience, then I went to do my training for therapy. And um,
Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so then when I was doing my training, then I started running a women's group at the place I did my training at. And
How
just had so
cool.
much fun doing, running it. So like creative and different ways for people to connect. And, it'd be like I'd have all this stuff planned sometimes. And sometimes really the most important thing was just holding space and people connecting and, you know, saying something that was on their heart or working through something.
Beautiful. Well, and I just think it's so supportive that you grew up with that, or that you were around that and you had that supportive women's network and support. And just like you said, you cycled together and whatnot. It reminds me of the red tent where like just
Yeah.
all the women are together, all supportive, etc. And beautiful to listen to all this. And then two, you use the altar work. Is that you use it with the women's ceremonies then?
Yeah. So I started doing altar work, many years ago. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I have never been in like a coven or, anything like that, but I just started kind of playing with energy and, lighting candles and that sort of thing. But then and I would do it for my personal work. But then during COVID, the women's group, we moved online. And so to hold, you know, things just felt so heavy during COVID. And anytime I do like teach a class or anything like that, I start an altar. So when the women's group moved online, then I started like consciously putting together a little altar before each group based on, whatever the theme was. So if it was like a summer theme, then it would all be based on that. If it was, we did specific chakra ones, yeah.
Beautiful. And you just kind of you're pulled to whatever you're pulled to for the altar. So it's almost just like if it's a season, you're supported by the season, or
Yeah.
moon cycle supported by that.
So it's it's quite a process. I mean, sometimes I'll just set up a quick altar, but usually like especially if I'm holding energy for a group, it'll be, well, even if I'm doing it individually, it'll be like a several day process of, you know, maybe I'll start with some cleansing in the house and, myself, and then I'll often like see the color of flowers
Mhm.
that I'm supposed to get for whatever the theme is. So then I'll get the flowers, and then maybe I'll go to the candle shop and I'll get a couple candles. And I've got like a little magical pen that I'll write, whatever the intention is, and dress the candles and start gathering, the crystals and herbs. And maybe like right now I'm working with Goddess Kali, so I've got her deck right here. So
Yeah.
it's a process.
Beautiful. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and very fortifying. Like I just feel that too. I mean, I can just feel that with the altar. And as you started sharing about each thing, it just felt like I could feel more and more energy happening. Like it just feels
Mm.
very, very healing to have these different aspects as part of the altar, which feels it just feels healing, supportive, and transforming. I mean, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
With that support of the altar, of the energies of the goddess. Whatever else you're putting out there, which is beautiful. And then you also use music and energy. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about that for the women's circles.
So that's even part of building the altar too. It all kind of works together, but often, particularly like at the change of the season, or sometimes it's the change of my season, or based on, whatever whatever the theme is for the group, I'll start to feel the energy shift. And so I know the energy shifting when like I'll start putting together a playlist, and maybe I haven't been able to, like, for whatever reason, I've just been like recycling the same songs. And
Mm.
then when the energy opens up, it's like all of a sudden this new song will come in, and then I follow that on Spotify, and it's like this whole new path opens up. And I put together the playlist and then dance and make the altar. And, it's a whole, like, sometimes I probably look a little nuts because I might be like, I might be moving some grief through. So there may be like some sad songs where I'm crying. And then the next one's like, we're dancing and it's just like moving energy in that way.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, yeah, and I know that you and I have gotten together at times for the brain spotting support group. And there was one time that you were listening to music and you were dancing, and I admitted you, and you're like, "Oh, hey, I'm just here." And I was like, "Oh, she's moving it." So, which I love, which is awesome, because what an amazing, beautiful opportunity to be able to cleanse, move, express with dance, with energy. So, I'd love to hear more about your dance parties.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like, part of the priestess work is, looking at these things that have been with you. Like, for instance, when I was a little girl, I always drew the spiral, you know, and even through high school, I'd be taking notes and I just draw this spiral. And then later I find out that's, part of the goddess and energy, and even Reiki symbols. Um, so that's always been there. So same with like the dance parties, they were, I have always loved to dance. So it used to be more like when I was partying, and now they've refined themselves,
Sure.
where it's still like that fun, and sometimes it's dance music. Sometimes it might be a little more slow or a little sensual. It kind of depends on whatever energy you're tapping into or moving through. And so now it's more of kind of a sacred dance party. Or like I also do like ecstatic dance. Um, and so, they'll set an intention and have a warm up, and you can't talk on the dance floor. And then they build the energy, throughout. And then usually at the end, there's some sort of sound healing or, you know, something like that. So now, like, the dance parties are a little more kind of part of ceremony or a ritual in a way, but they're still a lot of fun.
I love it. Well, and just the culmination, like as you're talking about the altar and as you're talking about the music, the energy, and then the playlist. I mean, it's just this cumulative effect of being able to really purge this and clear this and move this energy. And two, I love it. I mean, I want to come to a dance party. Like, how do we come to your dance parties?
So, good question. I do. So on the first Sunday of the month, I do a women's circle. So next Sunday, which would be whatever, August 4th or 5th, I would have to look for sure. Whatever that first Sunday is,
Okay.
I'm going to do a sacred dance party on that one. And it's from, what time would that be? That might be kind of early. Are you guys early? Are you earlier in Central?
We're later, but we have
You're
everybody from
later.
Pacific, Mountain, Central, and Eastern here.
Everybody's all
Everybody's
over.
here.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's 9 a.m. Pacific
Oh,
time.
that sounds great.
Yeah. And so usually about an hour and a half or so. Um, and then I also do like a group Reiki meditation on Mondays. So that one's a little different. That's not a women's circle. But on that one, on the first Monday, we're going to be doing planting and tending your magical garden.
Oh my God,
So
I
it's
love
like a
that.
hypnotherapy um, session where you go in and plant your garden, and then we talk about ways to like go back in there and plant and grow these things that you want to um, bring to fruition in your life.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, then how do people find out? How do people reach out to you? How do they find out about the dance parties? Do you have a website or email?
Yeah. So I'm on both Instagram and Facebook under
Okay.
the Blooming Soul 916. And then my website is also, I think if you just type in the Blooming Soul, it'll pop up. But it's the Blooming Soul 916 is the website too. So,
Oh, cool. So then they could follow you on Instagram, the Blooming Soul 916, or on Facebook, and then that's
yeah.
also your website. Is that right?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
and then that's also my website, and both of those I think have a link to my website. And I go live every Monday and like set the energy for my office and do oracle card reading, and talk about whatever else.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So we can go to your website. We can just kind of click and say, I want to join the dance party. I want to do the Monday night Reiki ceremony. Like we can just
Yeah,
do it that way.
yeah. Under
And
the
then,
events page, it's got both of those listed, and they're pretty reasonably priced and everything.
oh, I
So
love that. Well, feel free. I mean, after we get done here, if you want to put your link in for your website, go ahead
okay.
and put that there just so people are able to join for the dance party. Because I love that. Like, and just thank you so much for being here with us because I love the like again the culmination of what you've shared, like just witnessing your spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul, the Kundalini awakening, chakras, somatics, just being able to look at all of this and how it's really been able to be an inspiring way to assist other people and to be able to be really supportive of other people's healing path, women especially in group, with music, with energy. And two, I loved what you had shared too about your Monday ceremony and group, just because we can go in there into the garden and tend to it. And that really pulled me, almost just like we can go in there and we can tend to this. So I love that. And it's just almost like you've taken what you've experienced
Mm,
and you've created this to be able to assist other people and especially women to heal. So that's absolutely beautiful.
thank
So
you.
thank you so much. Thank you for just being here and sharing yourself. And I'm just curious too if there's anything off the top of your head or more you want to share, or even words of advice of any sort to people on their spiritual awakening or spiritual path. I would just love to hear if there's anything coming to mind for you.
I think just keep at it.
Mhm.
Keep at it, and sometimes it's about the fun sparkly, and other times it's about dealing with that grief or that niggling feeling or whatever it may be, and they're all valid.
Good. Yeah. It's just the ebbs and flow, ebbs and
Mhm.
flow. I mean, it's life and just go with what you need to go with, which is beautiful because I feel like, just like you said, it's sparkly and there's other times that maybe it's a purging or a clearing or, whatever else you need to do. So, well, thank you so much. Thank you again, Christy. And just, I'm just from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here and for serving. I mean, I just feel like I can feel that servitude in your heart. So thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you for having me. That
Very
was
cool.
wonderful to connect.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely reach out to Christy. Check her out at the Blooming Soul 916.